What if the woman you married was never really alive? He stood in the rain, tuxedo soaked, staring at the church doors that had just closed behind her. Everyone told him she was perfect, beautiful, classy, everything a man could want. But somewhere deep down, Jake knew something felt off. He ignored that feeling, smiled for the cameras, and told himself love would come later. It didn't. 6 months after the wedding, the house in Charleston that once felt like a dream now echoed with silence and resentment. She stopped laughing. He stopped trying. And every morning she'd leave early, dressed like she was going to a job she never actually had. Jake didn't ask questions, not yet. But one night when her phone buzzed at 2 a.m. with a name he didn't recognize, he picked it up. The message read, "He's asleep, come over." His hands shook. He stared at it for a long time before setting the phone back down exactly where it was. The next morning, she kissed him on the cheek like nothing happened, made pancakes, sang along to the radio, and smiled like she hadn't just shattered the last good piece of him. That night, Jake drove to the ocean. He parked by the pier where they'd once promised forever and watched the waves break under the moonlight. He thought about the way she used to look at him, like she was her whole world, and how that look vanished the moment the ring hit her finger. A week later, he followed her. Downtown Charleston, a coffee shop near the park. She sat with a man in a tailored suit, laughing, leaning in close, her hand brushing his. Jake froze across the street. The sound of traffic roared around him, but all he could hear was his heartbeat. He waited until they left together, hand in hand. He didn't confront her. He didn't yell. He just went home, poured a glass of bourbon, and stared at the wedding photo on the mantle. Her smile looked fake now. His, desperate. The next day, he emptied their joint account. She came home to nothing but a note. "You already took everything else." 3 days passed. She didn't call, didn't come back. Jake tried to move on, but the house still smelled like her perfume. The closet still held her dresses. And then, one night, there was a knock on the door. It was her. Tears in her eyes, makeup running, shaking hands clutching something. A photograph. She said, "I made a mistake." He didn't answer. She held up the picture. It was of him, sitting at the pier, the night he thought he was alone. Someone had been watching him. She looked terrified. "Jake," she said, voice trembling, "that man you saw me with?" She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes darted past him toward the dark hallway behind. Jake turned slowly. The back door was open, rain blowing in, and faint footsteps echoing down the hall. Jake's pulse pounded in his ears. The sound of dripping water mixed with the creak of the old wooden floorboards. He stepped forward slowly, every muscle tight, his breath shallow. The air felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. "Who's here?" he called out. No answer, only the faint sway of the curtains by the open door. He glanced back. She was frozen in place, still clutching the photo to her chest. Her face was pale, trembling lips barely forming words. "Jake, please, we have to leave, now." He frowned. "Leave? What are you talking about?" She shook her head, eyes darted toward the hallway again. "That man, the one from the café, he's not who you think he is." Jake took another cautious step toward the dark corridor. Rain streaked across the floor, pooling under the back door. "Then who is he?" Jake demanded. She didn't answer. She just whispered, "He followed me here." Lightning flashed through the windows, and for a split second, Jake saw a shadow move across the kitchen. Tall, still, watching. He froze. The shadow slipped out of view before he could blink. He turned to his wife, voice low. "What did you do?" Tears streamed down her face now. "I didn't know Jake. He said if I didn't meet him, he'd tell you everything." "Everything about what?" Jake's voice cracked, half anger, half fear. She hesitated. "About where the money really came from." Thunder shook the house. Jake stared at her, confused, his heart twisting with disbelief. "The money? You said your father left it." "He didn't. I took it from him." The words hit like a gunshot. Jake's chest tightened, his mind spinning. Before he could speak, a soft creak echoed from the back hallway. Both of them turned. A dark figure stood in the doorway now, soaked from the rain, a faint grin on his face. He stepped forward, slow, deliberate. "Evening, Jake. Looks like we finally meet." His wife backed away, whispering, "Please don't." The man raised his hand. Something metallic glinted in the light. Jake's fists clenched. "What do you want from us?" The man smiled faintly. "Not us," he said, locking eyes with Jake. "Just you." The storm outside grew louder, thunder rolling like a warning. Jake took one step forward, his jaw tightening. "Why me?" The man's grin widened. "Because you married her." A flash of lightning filled the room, and in that blinding second, everything changed. When Jake's vision cleared, the man was gone. So was she. Only the photograph remained on the floor, soaked, torn, and marked with 3 words scrawled in ink. "She wasn't yours." Jake stood in the silence that followed, the rain outside slowing to a soft drizzle. The house felt hollow, like every echo of laughter, every whisper of love had been erased. He stared at the torn photograph lying at his feet. Her face, half ruined by water, smiled up at him like a ghost. He picked it up with shaking hands. The ink bled down the paper. "She wasn't yours." His chest tightened as the words sunk in. He stumbled to the living room where the bourbon glass still sat untouched from nights ago. Pouring a drink, he sat by the window, eyes tracing the reflections of streetlights on the wet pavement. His thoughts swirled, the lies, the betrayal, the man who'd known his name. every memory of her now felt like a carefully staged play, each moment leading him deeper into someone else's story. A car engine started outside. Jake stood, peering through the blinds. Down the street, headlights glowed faintly through the fog. Two figures sat inside, one in the passenger seat, head turned away, hair the same color as hers. His breath caught. He opened the door, stepping barefoot into the cold night. "Sarah!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the rain. No response. The car began to roll away. He ran down the street, but the taillights disappeared into the distance, swallowed by the mist. And then, just as he stopped, panting, something on the ground caught his eye. A gold wedding band gleaming faintly under the streetlight. He picked it up, fingers trembling. Inside, engraved in tiny letters, were words he'd never seen before. For every choice, a price. Jake stood there, soaked, broken, clutching the ring that had once meant forever. And as the first light of dawn broke over Charleston, he finally understood. He hadn't just married the wrong woman. He'd married his own regret.